Welcome back to the Real News Network. I'm Sharmini Pires coming to you from Baltimore. I'm speaking with Jerry Epstein. He's professor of economics at UMass Amherst and the co-director of the Political Economy Research Institute at UMass as well. Thank you so much for coming back on, Jerry.
Thanks, Sharmini, for having me.
So, Jerry, in the first segment, we outlined what we think Trumponomics is and how to begin to think about some of the proposals on the table. But you picked up a trade and infrastructure proposal of the Trump administration. Let's talk about those two and why you think these are the two important things we should try to understand.
The infrastructure program of Trump isn't really an infrastructure spending program. It's really a privatization program. It's designed to make public resources available to private investors with huge tax subsidies. We know from these so-called public-private partnerships that they end up feeding massive profits to the crony companies that get these contracts, and so that's the crony capitalist part of this. And yes, it may generate some jobs, but it's not going to generate as many jobs as a real infrastructure program that would be focused on making the green transition to more fossil fuel-free kinds of energy. In this paper, Heidi Garrett-Peltier, my colleague here at PERI, did some estimates and showed that investments in green energy will generate a lot more jobs, a lot better paying jobs than this kind of privatized infrastructure set of policies that Trump is promoting. And Trump is promoting an anti-union, anti-worker campaign. You know, he's not supporting increases in the minimum wage. He tried to appoint somebody who's a total anti-union person to head the Labor Department. These are all things that we have to look at when we're trying to analyze a policy like infrastructure. So my plea is, don't just look at the policy by itself. Oftentimes that will be sufficient to see that it's a dog of a policy. But we also have to look at it in terms of what power coalitions it's going to develop, what's going to be the long-run impact on the autocratic power of Trumpism.
And you mentioned climate change, the greatest crisis we are actually facing, perhaps the world over. Trump's policies towards, of course, economy and climate change is perhaps the most problematic one that we're going to be dealing with in the future. What are some of the advice you have in terms of the way in which we look at this problem and how to analyze it?
I think, yes, I think it's clearly going to be a climate emergency, largely because we have failed to address it, and now Trump is not going to address it. He puts these fossil fuelers, key positions in his department, Rex Tillerson, Pruitt, et cetera. We macroeconomists, progressive macroeconomists, with important exceptions, primarily my colleague Bob Poland and some others, Jim Boyce and Julie Shore and others, we have kind of fallen down on the job, because when we have analyzed macro policies in the past, we might look at its impact on jobs or look at its impact on income distribution or economic growth, but we really haven't put front and center an analysis of the impact of macroeconomic policies on climate, on fossil fuels. And I think moving forward, if these policies aren't part of the solution, that is, if they don't help move us to a greener energy system, a greener environment, then they're really part of the problem. And so I think all of these policies, the infrastructure policy, the tax cuts, all of these policies need to be analyzed, among other things, through a climate change lens. And when you do that, I think we're also going to find that these policies are wanting.
All right. I thank you so much for joining us and just laying out some of the things that we should be looking out for and how to begin to talk about it and analyze from what we already know, but also going forward in terms of what we need to fine-tune our tools with in order to analyze what Trump is proposing. I thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Sharmini.
And thank you for joining us on the Real News Network.